Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Block Sauce. Today, I've got another amazing special guest for you. Can't wait to talk about this one. So, I'm your host and Arena Team Ambassador, Jinkirin, and I'm excited. I can't wait to get into today's show. So make sure you guys grab a Mountain Dew, grab your controller, and prepare to get your game on. Let's go. Hey there, sauce enthusiasts. It's time to bring the heat with another electrifying episode of the Block Sauce. Today, I have Houston, the CEO of Xenum Games, here to talk about Shutdown. How are you doing today, Houston?
Hey, doing well. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's a pleasure.
Well, thanks for being here. I always appreciate when people are able to take time out of their day and join us for these. These have been pretty successful, in my opinion, so far. We're able to showcase a lot of games that are coming up, and you guys have a couple, from my understanding, that are in the works. You want to share a little bit about those real quick?
Yeah. So, Xenum Games, we're a backend provider for Web3 games. Bit of history on us. We've been developing games in the Web3 space since 2018. Our first game was called Dissolution, which is kind of where we experienced a lot of these back-end pain points. Since then, we started as a team of two. We've grown now to overall, between all of the projects that we are working with, a team of 40. So we've got two games. One is called Shutdown. The other is called Fabled. Shutdown is the one we're going to be talking about today. It's a top-down Web3 sort of shooter, much more focused on being something that's along the horror theme. It's dark, it's mysterious, it's moody, it's a zombie shooter. And then the other game is called Fabled, which is a very hardcore Web3 Dark Souls-like, it's very hard. That's like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're both kind of hard, really. I got to play on both the ETH Denver, and Shutdown isn't one of those games you can just dash in and start blowing stuff up and expect to come out alive. There is a bit of big brain moment to it.
For sure.
But so you said the Solution was actually your first game?
Dissolution, yeah. So
Dissolution, okay.
Dissolution, you guys can actually search this up on Steam. If you Google us, you'll find like a bunch of divorce articles, and then you'll find our game if you keep scrolling down far enough. But it was our first venture into this space, and we were on Ethereum. A lot of it was just learning about how to connect blockchains with a game, both on a technical level and also on a design front. But we had it working. It was multiplayer. It was FPS. We had a lot of fun with it. But in the end, I think taking all the lessons there and transferring them over to the new games, that's kind of what's been happening over the past 13, 14 months.
And how has the journey been for you guys? Has it been kind of, you said that you mentioned there were some pain points and some struggles. So kind of give us some background on how you guys went from making a game on Steam to all of a sudden making Web3 games. Like, what led to that?
Well, we were Web3 from day one. Me and my co-founder, we kind of bring gaming and blockchain. So my background is on the blockchain crypto side of things. I got into a couple coins early. I got into Dogecoin back when it was still trading on Reddit. This is for 2014. And then I got into Ethereum shortly after the ICO. This is in 2015. So I've been around the block. I've been through a couple of cycles. I met my co-founder Adam, who's over here. I don't know if you can see him, but a little bit. And we met and we just started talking. And he was a game developer. He's a wizard on Unreal. You can see Unreal in the background going there as he's developing a Shutdown. And we kind of put two together. So what happens when you combine blockchain and games? Well, gambling. That's what we came up at first. So our first game was called High Roll. It's like this sort of like WebGL experience built using Unity. We saw like the dice casinos, and we're like, well, we can make a better interface. It'll be 3D. It'll be a casino in space. It'll be epic. Worked on that for about like 3 months, and then afterwards we discovered NFTs to CryptoKitties, like ERC721, that token standard. And the first thought we had in our mind as gamers was like, holy shit, this needs to be in a video game. So like literally the next day we were just like, okay, we're not doing gambling anymore. We're gonna start working on some sort of game. And Adam had this like sort of he had sort of like this half-baked project that he already had working with all of the sort of basic pillars, foundational pieces ready. And it was a sci-fi FPS game. So we're like, well, hey, let's just work off that. And that was Dissolution. So we were on Steam so early. This was like before Steam
started cracking down.
Yeah, exactly. Before they announced anything. And that's why we were allowed to be on. And if you go through like our community, like on Steam, you can actually see. Here, let me show you this.
That's why I assumed you guys were Web 2 at first, because you were on Steam with your first one. But now that it explains everything, you guys were early. We
were early. Yeah. I don't know if you can see the screen here, but release date 2019. We actually got the early access out here in December of 2018. And so this is one of the things I always like to go back to look on. So you go to like our discussions, and then you go to but literally the first thing that someone said. So this is August 21st, 2018, right? And then this is just a guy complaining about what the hell is blockchain and gaming got to do with each other. So we saw the NFT hate from like literally a mile away, if you could say that.
I believe it. So what kind of led to Shutdown and Fable? Obviously, you guys have some experience with gaming. You found a foothold somewhere on Steam once upon a time.
Yeah.
I played both of them. I see that they are fun, enjoyable games, and to be quite frank, they're unique experiences within the Web3 space for sure. So what inspired you guys to take the route that you did? Because nobody else is really going the single player / co-op. Everybody seems to want to do the competitive esports thing.
Yeah. Like we trying to do the competitive esports thing with Dissolution. And I think there's a certain level of there's a certain level of everything. Like you have to hit like critical mass of users, for example, in terms of like multiplayer games, right? You think about player concurrency, you don't want matchmaking to be like 30 minutes. You want it to be like ideally under 5. So you're going to have a lot of players for that. And then with players being all around the world, you have to be like very, very regional focused. So you have to have a concurrent mass of players in every single region where your servers are. And that just takes, quite frankly, that just takes a lot of money, and you have to make sure the game is good. And so you have all of these different challenges, and it's not that like we're writing off competitive play. It's just that I think it's smarter to start with a single player experience, especially when you're still figuring out, and nobody really knows, how do you truly like utilize Web3. Nobody knows what the perfect model is, right? It hasn't been cracked yet. So until that point, like don't spend that much money. Figure out how to actually like make the Web3 components fun. Figure out the Web2 to Web3 onboarding. Figure out all of those things first before any of this, multiplayer stuff matters. And that's the way we see it. Like when we did Dissolution, we started off as multiplayer. And first day, like we had 18,000 people come in, but we weren't able to retain any of them. It was actually completely unexpected to see that many people come through. So, if you have a good concept, like, and keep in mind, like this is no marketing at all with Dissolution. They just came through organically through Steam. And so, if you have a good concept, the players will come. The challenge then is keeping the players around, and making sure that like you have that sort of steady player base. And I don't really see many games, or if any game really in this space that are capable of doing that. And yeah, I think the competitive esports thing, that is very, very much real. Like I'm a big League of Legends player. I played ranked. I got to like Platinum. I put like 8,000 hours in that game, right? But imagine that game, like as fun as it is, if nobody's playing, then I'm not gonna play it anymore. It's not fun if no one's online.
And you see it at the higher ranks too. Once you start hitting like Grandmaster and stuff like that, the players are constantly talking about how queue times, like they'll be playing another game off to the side while waiting in queues. They're that long. So that's a whole different story. League has players, but they don't have top 0.01% player base, you know? So even within populated games, once you start segregating them to that extent, they see absolutely ridiculous queue times. But I agree. That's actually been a point of contention for me in Web3 is sitting there having to wait 20 to 30 minutes to even find one person to play with. So that's why when the Fabled, I know this isn't a Fabled, interview, but that's why when I got to play the Fabled at ETH Denver, I was really impressed by what you guys were building. And then, of course, that translated to me trying Shutdown, which we're going to see some gameplay for here in just a second. And then I was like, you know what? Even in Web 2, you don't see too many games doing what Shutdown's doing. There's a few games, like don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily like the super rare gem where you've managed to crack a super unique formula that nobody else has ever tried, but it is a niche genre that has found success. I think the biggest one I've probably seen that's close to it is I think it was Descenders or the Descent, something like that.
Yeah, the Ascent, yeah.
Oh, the Ascent, that's what it was. I never played that one. It looked cool, but it wasn't, I don't know. I didn't give it a shot. But I got to play this one at ETH Denver, and I was like, I want to know more. I got somebody's team's Telegram, and I was like, hey, guys, what do I got to do to get in this game, So that was really cool. There's not too many games out there that I want to dive in further. Like usually once I've gotten the surface level, I'm like, okay, I kind of see where this game's going. It's not for me maybe, or it's not there yet, it's not something I can play every day. But the Shutdown had that replayable factor because of the difficulty, because of the slight randomness to each run. And I think that's what pulled me in. So if you're ready, we could jump in and start showing them the gameplay.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let me know if this is all right.
There we go.
It's definitely a little bit different than probably the last time you played it. So last time you played it was I believe it was a dungeon. Yeah, it was like one dungeon. It was a dungeon. We've turned it into a wave survival mode just because we want to make sure like we get the combat abilities tested. So this is new too. This is the ability system, so you can choose 2 abilities. Keep in mind this game is still in like pre-alpha, so this is very, very early access. And what we're trying to figure out right now is just like, hey, do people actually do these mechanics make sense? Does it translate? Does the combat feel satisfying? And so we want people to just basically slay zombies. And it's a horde survival game mode. So it's based on waves. As the waves increase, the difficulty ramps up. The zombies get beefier and faster, and they start running at you eventually, and all that. Yeah. So wave 1's pretty chill. We're just gonna melee them, save some ammo for now. And as we progress, you'll see it get crazier and crazier. So
I'm a sucker for wave survival games. I don't know what it is. It's one of those I've got to get higher. I can do better. Is there a max wave currently, or is this as like take it as far as you can take it type of wave survival?
You can take it as far as you can as it goes. But there's kind of it does get a little bit repetitive, I will say. Just because
it happens.
We're still missing a little bit of content here and there. Like this, the enemy types aren't that diverse at the moment. But again, pre-alpha. So the way we're approaching development actually is like, so this has been about 13 months of work. A lot of that was just making sure that we can everything was built with multiplayer in mind. So kind of touching back on the first point that we were talking about. We have co-op multiplayer working already, but on a LAN basis right now. So we can get like 800, or sorry, not 800. We can fit like 8 people concurrently in this map. With like
smooth. It was only 4.
Yeah, so we tested with 8, but we're gonna release with 4 because
this
map's not built for that much. And now we got an upgrade. We got a double barrel sawed off. There's a couple
reload mechanics.
Yep. A couple of little mechanics here where if you melee, people there's higher chance for drops. So it's all about we try to incorporate skill elements where we can.
I'm also seeing you got a health bar and an energy bar. What's the energy for?
So the energy is abilities. So we have a little dash right there, and then we have a shield. These are very like
Oh.
basic abilities. And then as we add more and more content, the abilities are gonna get crazier and crazier. Same thing with the guns. I can scroll down here. We have like this crazy gun called the BFG. It basically fires like this
Ooh.
giant death orb laser that explodes on impact. So it
My
lasers like
Doom.
all the enemies.
I know my
It's
Doom days are
insane.
coming back to me. The BFG. That's all I care about now. That's what I
Yeah,
want.
exactly. The BFG. That's a Doom reference for sure.
So with how does Web3 fit into this? Like, are the characters NFTs? Are the weapons NFTs? Is there a token involved? What chain are you guys on? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. So, like basically what you said, characters, NFTs,
Mhm.
any of the permanent items. But the way we approach this, right, is we always think, okay, what's going to onboard, like someone who doesn't have a wallet, someone who doesn't know anything about NFTs or tokens, and that's gameplay for us. So the
Uh-huh.
goal here is to basically get people playing the game, having fun. I'm gonna skip the update there, and get someone to like be able to sink like 100, 200 hours into this before they even think about the Web3 components. So your items start off as like database items, Web 2.5. That
Okay.
means a player doesn't need to have a wallet to play necessarily. But once they get to the late game, now that's when the NFTs come in. So we've
Mhm.
gamified the minting process. When you mint a character or an item or armor piece or whatever it is, that gets randomized. So there's random stats and abilities and traits that get generated. And so it's kind of like if you play like Diablo or Path of Exile, every item is different and unique. And that's what the NFTs are. So it's kind of like, we want to make sure like people are having fun as they mint. And, we want them to mint over and over and over and over again. That's kind of where where we see sort of the currency sync, the main currency sync for the tokens will be. And speaking of tokens, tokens are basically like a premium currency within the game itself, but we have plans beyond Shutdown as a top-down shooter. So, like I mentioned earlier, we have that game. The solution, like that, we still have all the code there. Like it's a fully functioning FPS game. We will need a bigger team size, which is why we decided to, for the time being, work on like a top-down shooter instead of FPS. But once we get Shutdown off the ground, generate some revenue, establish our studio and our presence, we are planning on bringing an FPS game to sort of this IP. So you can think of Shutdown as kind of like its own unique little world. And then Dissolution probably will be adopting, similar models, similar characters, reusing the NFTs, of course.
Mhm.
So we want to really emphasize like cross replayability and composability of the NFTs across the different titles within the world of Shutdown, and likewise goes to the token as well. So,
So you're building
yeah,
an ecosystem with the token, like it's going to work across multiple games, not just one.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And with Shutdown, like the whole thing was like the biggest lesson we learned from like Dissolution was accessibility, right? Because
Mhm.
with Dissolution, it was such an intensive game, and obviously with 3 people, there's optimization only goes so far. So
Yeah.
it wasn't very well optimized, unfortunately. And so that meant a lot of players couldn't actually play the game. Shutdown is the complete opposite of that. We're trying to put this game on mobile. We're trying to get it on consoles, get it on every single platform that we can think of, and really just make sure like people are exposed to it.
Yeah.
Because what you're seeing here, this is a PC version, but all of these assets are mobile ready. We probably have to change
Nice.
lighting and a little bit things like that, but and for the most part, like this could be mobile probably by end of this year if that's what we're pushing for. So everything was built with that in mind.
So what engine is this built in?
This is Unreal 4. So not using 5 just because again like with with the new tooling in Unreal 5, like that doesn't really apply that much to mobile. If you think about sort of like Nanite and then like the new lighting systems, Lumen, like
Mhm.
that's not a mobile phone without a GPU is not going to be able to take advantage of that. And plus, we want to make sure we have the stability of 4. So I think we're using like 4.25, which is pretty stable. 5, I know with 5, like looking at the Fable development, it's like every single update breaks something. So it's still in that kind of early phase of the engine. So yeah, it's probably better not to use it if you're not going to take advantage of the newest feature sets.
I'm just wondering, so have you guys considered a roguelike mode?
Yeah, that's what the dungeon game mode is going to be. So it's going to be a roguelike, and keep it fresh. It's a really smart way of designing sort of content, because obviously with games like this, like single player, like you run out of content really fast. That's the benefit of multiplayer games, which is like, okay, you have one map for like something like League of Legends. You have, when they started, I think it was like what, 12, 13, or 14 characters.
They didn't have too many.
That. Yeah, you didn't need that many to keep it interesting, right? Because it was basically like all of the possible pairings that you could have.
And the different builds too.
Exactly. Yeah, and then you had items, and you could do different stuff. Something like this, we want to keep it fresh. So that's probably going to be the next game mode. And the way our development works is we run 6 to 8 month sprints. This initial sprint took a little bit longer, 13 months, just because we had to get the base sort of fundamentals of everything down. And also we developed the dungeon game mode already like halfway through, and then pivoted. So hopefully it should be quicker next time. But once we have more content, more weapons, more abilities, then we release probably like a roguelike, see how that does. And the goal for us is not even to like our goal is to make sure like we are very close to our players. We know what they want. We're constantly getting feedback and iterating on that. So we're always connected to our core community, and we're always able to show them something new and keep them engaged with what we're building. Because these games like this with a small team like ours, it takes a very long time.
Oh, I bet. And trying to get the balance and everything. Oh my gosh! Yeah. Like the first time I played it, I had to go through the dungeon a couple of times because I still don't think I ever beat it, if I remember correctly. But that was rough. It was fun. Like it's not like, it's almost like Dark Souls, right? Like it's hard. It's hard, and you just want to keep getting better and better. It's not frustratingly difficult.
It's a fine balance.
And honestly, I felt like you guys had kind of nailed it, but it looks like you're taking it back to the drawing board. You want to make sure that all the mechanics work, and then you're going to reintroduce the dungeons again later. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because it's like one thing at a time, right? I think the problem with the at least the dungeon game mode that you played was that the map design was kind of off, and that was just a symptom of us like having to balance a bunch of different things at the same time, and obviously that makes it a lot more difficult. So we want to make sure like, okay, we get the combat right. All right, then let's move over to level design. Then let's move over to abilities, and then really make sure like what we have already is solid fundamentally before we move on. And that's a really good way of structuring the development as well, because if you try to do too many things at the same time, Adam calls it technical debt, where you have like dependencies that kind of stack up on each other, and then when you get further down the road and you try to change anything, then you have changing one thing, you're changing like 50 other dependencies, and that's not a position that you want to be in, especially like in a late stage of a project. So again, lessons that we learned from Dissolution that aren't necessarily the most forward facing, but have been things that have really clarified development for us.
Were there any games that played a role in like inspiration for Shutdown, or?
Yeah, most definitely. Diablo, Path of Exile for sure. Especially the way Path of Exile structures their game, I really think it's a smart move. And with like Shutdown, we want to run seasons, and I'm a big fan of how every season in Path of Exile is fundamentally different and introduces new mechanics. There's an economic reset. The way it's going to work with Shutdown is basically like you have a set of really high powered gear, items, whatever you want to call it, that is available in this season, and you can only mint it in this season too. So it's kind of like players have this race against time to get the stuff that they want with the right stats, with the right abilities, get the right build before moving on to the next.
But assuming that they don't get in time, it's something they could probably buy on a secondary market at some point.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of our way of like rewarding, early players. It's like, okay, well, you only get this season. Next season is going to be completely different. So if you're playing, right, like you're getting potentially a very rare item, something that has history, something that has legacy later down the road.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually just started jumping into mobile again a little bit recently, and there's a Final Fantasy game that they just released, and they got a limited time event already, and the game's been out for like a week, and I'm like, I gotta grind this event, I gotta get this special item that's only available during this event, right? But I can't trade or sell it, so if I get it, it's just there, it's just for me. Which isn't, I mean, if the game's fun, who cares, right? But what about new players coming into the game later? Now they do not have the ability to grab these items, and I can't sell it to them. I can't trade it to my friend. And what if it eventually is phased out of my build? What if I don't want to use it anymore? Now it's just sitting in my inventory doing nothing, right? So I think that this is a great way to go about it, and it does encourage people, obviously, to be early adopters, to actually play the game, to grind the mechanics, and then they get rewarded for it. Now, is there going to be a limit on those, though? So, like, let's say you guys hit 1 million players that season, just theoretically, obviously, and all 1 million players hit the threshold. Will they be able to have 1 million of them in circulation, or is there going to be a cap?
So we're leaving it really open ended. It's hard to say. I think like, look, if everyone's able to get it, then obviously the rarity's not so good. But I think like if you have like 1 million players and let's say like 10,000 people were able to get it. Now 10,000 is a big number, but it's all relative, right? So it's still only 1% of that player base is able to earn that sort of item. I think that's still fine. So it really depends on the players. I'm not a big fan of sort of like the prescription approach when it comes to designing your economy and inflation. You could prescribe inflation in the real world just because like population growth is relatively predictable. But in a game, you can go from like 10,000 players to 100 million players if it does really well. Ideally, it does do really well, right? But then inflation at like a 4% level just doesn't make any sense. Then you probably want double or even triple-digit numbers of inflation.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just always one of those balancing acts. Like you don't want to restrict it, but if everybody can get it, then what's it worth? But I feel like if the time requirement is high enough, it will obviously prevent everybody from getting it because not everybody's going to have the same amount of time dedication. I know me personally, when it comes to games where there's like a pay to skip or pay to whatever, I tend to spend a bit more in that game because I do have a full 9-to-5 job. I've got my content stuff, so I don't always have time to grind, but I do have money to spend. So it's different audiences, and I hope that people can grasp that concept. Somebody who, like, for example, like some high schooler who gets out of school, they don't have a job or anything like that, they can jump on and immediately start grinding. They can probably put in 4 to 5 hours a night, right? Somebody like me, I get home, I got to feed my dogs, I got to spend time with my other half, I got to get ready for the next day. If I've got an interview coming up, then I've got to research the company and start working on questions or editing content, and then maybe I get an hour or two in a day if I'm lucky to play a game, right? So that's the different audiences that I don't think people understand, and that's why it's not pay to win, especially in a PvE co-op game like this. It's pay to progress. It's like I don't want to dedicate my entire life to this game, so I'm going to support the developers instead of time with money. And if I enjoy a game, I'm not going to be mad about supporting them with money. I mean, Path of Exile, actually, no, you mentioned League of Legends. League of Legends completely free to play, right? I've spent almost $2,000 on that game.
I spent a lot of money too. I have the Pulsefire Israel skin when that first came out. I have all of the legendaries. But the thing is, like, I have all these things, but I'm not. I just sunk like 2K into it. I didn't really get anything out of it. And I think that's kind of the issue that I have with Web3 games. And actually, funny story about me is I used to farm gold in RuneScape. So I used to be when I was a kid. So my parents wanted me to get a job over the summer. I was like, no, I want to play RuneScape. So I just farmed gold in it. Me and my buddy, we figured out how to run bots. Had a bunch of those going at the same time, and then just I made like $2,000 or $3,000 off of RuneScape bot gold farming when I was 13, and that was when you're 13 years old, like that's a lot of money, right? And you're literally just playing a video game that you enjoy. So that was freaking epic. And so touching back on the Web3 elements there, I think that's where Web3 really solves a lot of the problems that Web2 has. Because when I was doing gold farming on RuneScape, like a lot of my orders straight up just got scammed. Like PayPal, they would charge back on PayPal. PayPal being like sort of like this mostly like focused on eBay at this point. They would ask me for a shipping code. Like I don't have a shipping code. I literally met up with this guy in an online game. I sold him like gold in RuneScape. It was all manual, so you had to like arrange a time. You had to look at people's reviews to make sure they weren't scammers. And it was just a very inefficient system. Whereas like you look at something like compare that with OpenSea or any of the Web3 marketplaces. It's all trustless. It's asynchronous. You don't have to coordinate. You don't have to do anything. And also the developers don't get shafted because with RuneScape, like all the gold I sold, that was revenue that was straight up taken out of the developer's pocket, right? So
and that's why we see Blizzard over there selling a WoW token now.
Yeah.
They're like, we want that money back.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is kind of like this new revenue model that could potentially be even better than what they have going on right now, which is like direct player sales. You think about sort of a mathematical expression for that. It's just like a linear percentage-based expression. Like you monetize 10% of your players, right? That's 0.1 times the total number of players you have times their average spend. With player trading, it seems to be a network effect. It seems to be like exponential. And for us, like what we see out of it is like, well, this is something that's going to allow us to, be able to we can focus purely on the content now. Like we don't have to worry about, how do we monetize? What are we sacrificing to get this monetization? Are we making this to pay to win, stuff like that? I think in the future of games, especially with the Web3 games, all you have to do is just focus on making the content good, right? And the players will start trading it, and then you'll get that revenue right out of the gate, and you don't have to worry about whether or not you're doing pay to win and all of these things that regular gamers complain about. And I think once people see that, people are going to be a lot more open to the idea of like Web3.
I think what finally kind of showed me why there's some benefits to Web3 is, first off, I loved League of Legends, but then they released the mobile version, and then I have to rebuy all these characters that I've already bought, and it's crazy to think that I've already spent time and money grinding and unlocking or buying all of these characters. Now I have to do it all over again in their other game when there is clearly a direct translation that they could have used. Like I'm using the same account and everything. So they could verify already that I've purchased these characters, and then you go and you throw in Legends of Runeterra on top of that, which is their TCG. I can't trade, I can't sell, I have no interoperability. All the purchases that I've ever done in the Riot ecosystem are isolated to their single game that I did that purchase in. And I'm like, I love these games, I love supporting Riot, but at the same time, like we're living in an attention era where every game is fighting for the attention of players, because obviously attention has an impact on finance, especially in the mobile industry. The longer you can keep a user engaged with your mobile game, the more money you're probably going to make. Let's be honest. And I haven't touched League of Legends in months. I haven't played anything from Riot in months, and the reason is I went back to World of Warcraft. $120 a year. And I can play as much World of Warcraft as I want. They're constantly doing new updates. I'm getting new content, new story, new items, all this stuff on a routine basis. And all Riot's really given me is every month or two, I get to buy a new character. but then I jump into the mobile version and then I have to buy it again. And then I jump into Legends Runeterra and I've got to go buy more stuff. And all they're really doing is giving me more and more opportunity to buy, whereas World of Warcraft is actually giving me more and more value for my money. So there's a disconnect there that I feel like Web3 can address, because we're already seeing, like you guys are talking about having the token that works across all the games. Now imagine I could use my Riot points across every single game, right? That's kind of neat.
Sure. And I think that kind of goes back to sort of the revenue model, because like Riot Games can't justify making, you know, these new games and then not be able to make any more money from it, right? Because they don't have that player trading component, you know. Whereas like if like let's say like Wild Rift, for instance, that brought mobile users, probably millions of users to their ecosystem. You know, if that was millions of users trading their items, I don't think they would have needed to charge for that. So it's like it's you know, with games, like the biggest thing I learned from going from like a gamer to a game developer is the business elements really have to make sense. Like games are expensive, not only that, they take a ton of time, they take a ton of passion. They you know, it's expensive both from like a time perspective and like a capital perspective.
It's true, and I don't fault Riot for that whatsoever, because now we're seeing them come out with multiple games. We've gotten the JRPG, Ruin King. I had to remember the name of that one. Now we've got Project L, which is shaping up to be a really nice, cool looking fighter game. But of course, I got to feel it. I'm probably going to have to rebuy all of my characters again. But this is all leading up to the fact that they are building an MMORPG, and those definitely are not cheap. So I don't fault them for it. But me as a consumer, I'm like, how can I get the best bang for my buck? Because we're in a time period right now where the price of games is constantly increasing. Half the time when you buy a game, you're not getting the full game. You have to go and buy all the DLCs and season passes and battle passes and all the other skins. And as consumers, players feel like they're starting to, you know, really be bled dry by a lot of these companies. And it is a two-sided thing, because from a business perspective, they want to make more games. They want to expand their universe. They want to build their IP. But from a consumer standpoint, how do we get the most value from our money? And it's two entirely different perspectives that I'm not sure will ever possibly align. But do you think Web3 could maybe tailor that and kind of bring them in line?
Yeah, definitely. I think Web3 it's a paradigm shift. You know, it's a paradigm shift not only the way that like players think about games, online economies, but it's a paradigm shift in the way developers think about content, right? Like something like this, you know, we like you look at all of the sort of big talking points of Web3. A lot of people are trying to make ecosystems. They're not trying to make titles. They're trying to make ecosystems. And you know, right now it's very early to see sort of how that is going to be any different. But I think if you wait, like, you know, maybe like 5-10 years down the road, when some of these bigger studios like Parallel, for instance, is a really good example of this, where they will have like multiple titles and have these cross title compatible assets, right? You're gonna see a big difference in the way that economy and that ecosystem operates. And it is getting a little bit more intense now, so I am trying to. It is a lot harder for me to talk.
Oh, they're all just chasing after you.
Yeah. So there will be more abilities and weapons before the harder waves. I'm kind of a bad player, but people have gone to like wave 40, which is just absolutely insane. I don't know how the hell they did it.
They just keep going.
Yeah, they just keep going.
So it doesn't look like there's any friendly fire or splash damage to.
No, there's no friendly fire or splash damage, just to make it easier, because otherwise you get like griefed by your own teammates with a rocket launcher or something like that. We had it in there, and that's yeah, we were just literally just like troll each other in the office. So we're like, you know what, probably better not to do it that way. And also it just gets too chaotic.
Yeah, I'm the person that's gonna shoot a enemy point blank with the rocket launcher and blow myself all the way across the map. I'm throwing it out there now.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen
for sure. Someone's gonna do it, but let me see if I can try not to die. Oh, I'm good.
Oh, so
wave 24. Wave 24 during interview. That's pretty good for me. Normally I die like at like wave 17, 18. But yeah, I mean, for us, like, I think back to sort of the original point that we were talking about, like, it's all about player behaviors and how
Yep.
does Web3 change that. It's not even so much the tech, because I think at the end of the day, like eventually, we're not going to be talking about what blockchain it's going to be on, or what kind of, like, if it is it EVM or is it this or that. It's like, when you look at normal games, people don't care if it's like running on AWS or if it's on Microsoft Azure or if it's on Google Cloud Services. Like, that doesn't matter, right? It's like, is the game fun? And that, to me, is that's like the ultimate question, and it always has been. So it was, we went through 2018, which is bear market. We started in the bear market, actually, 2018, 2019, and early part of 2020. Like, nobody gave a crap about blockchain games. We literally went to GDC 2019. We have like photos, or we have like this big TV screen that says like blockchain meets gaming. People would come by and it'd be like so polarized. It'd be like, there'd be like a small group of people like, oh, that's a cool concept, I could see that. And then it was like the mass majority of people, they look at it, it's like, that's stupid. What the hell is that? And they just walk away. So we kind of saw it from a mile away. And then like going from like 2018 to 2021 and 2 was just absolutely bonkers, because everyone started talking about blockchain gaming. Oh, this is the future, this is that. I'm like, holy crap, like, it just took off, right? It took off way quicker than we expected it to. We thought it was going to be slow, but I guess nothing's slowing Web3, is it?
I would say 1.0 game releases are pretty slow.
Yeah. But the
They take time, though.
concept.
Yeah, no. So I agree with you. I think eventually we will get to a point where people won't care, but the problem right now is, unfortunately, people do care. So I think the biggest reason you get, well, what chain is it on, is because there's no one wallet to rule them all. Certain chains require certain wallets. I know that going into like the Ronin network, for example, I need a wallet. If I go into Solana, I need a different wallet. If I go into anything Ethereum or Binance, I need a different wallet. Wax has their own wallet, and I think that's where a lot of people are asking, what chain is it on? But the normal gamer, if you have a custodial wallet and they never need to actually go download or do anything themselves, I don't think they're going to care. Right now, the biggest issue with them is, well, NFT bad. Well, that's going to take time to, unfortunately, educate those types of people, because I think that's what it boils down to, is an education thing. If you asked me 5 to 7 years ago, would I play blockchain games, I would have laughed at you, because the only thing I knew back then was Axie. And no offense to the Axie ecosystem, I saw the early Axie days and I looked at it and I'm like, but that's not even a game. It's gamified finance, which that's not for me. Like, if I was a gambler, which in a real world casino, I can be a very big gambler. But when it comes to games, I'm not big on it. Like, I do loot boxes and stuff because I know I'm getting something of value that I'm going to use in a game I want to play, but I still need a good game to make me want to spend that money first, right? And those types of games back then weren't cutting it. I tried a few of them. There was like OX Universe, which was like a planet simulator.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That one ended up being a rug pull. But yeah, it wasn't where I thought it was going to be. Now, fast forward a couple of years ago, I should say, I was part of the world's largest Twitch military or veteran organization, and we got invited to a tournament. It was for a Web3 game. Now, at the time, I did not know this, but I was like, yeah, sure, I'll play in it. Okay, well, game's actually kind of fun. What's going on here? So I'd look more into it, and I see they've got a mint coming up. And I'm like, well, what's a mint? And then I start looking into minting, and I'm like, oh, so I can get a skin that I can use in the game, and eventually it's going to be a reward multiplier, and I can sell it if I don't want to use it later. Okay, so that was my first mint. I was like, how do I get in and do this? And it was on Solana. It was super easy. Go download wallet, buy Solana through MoonPay, go mint. Done. Simple. But then you go into like Wax's ecosystem, right? Oh my God, the onboarding for Wax was a nightmare for me. I had to ask multiple people how to do this. I used multiple YouTube videos, and I was like, I'm not onboarding anybody from Web 2 here. Like, that's not going to work. So that's kind of where I usually ask what chain it's on, not because I'm a maxi, but because I'm curious what players are going to have to do to get into the game.
Yeah,
eventually,
absolutely.
That won't be a problem. Eventually, but we're not there yet. Now,
yeah, I mean, we're missing a lot of the infrastructure pieces for sure. That's That's what we found with dissolution. Back then it was just the integration part of things that was the big that was the big challenge. But now it's like, how do you actually like bring someone in? And that's a mix of like, I think that's like that's a very complex problem, because it's a tech question, right? Like for example, the tooling, the wallets you mentioned with Wax, awful experience. And it's also a design question, like from a UI standpoint, you know, and then also from like a game flow standpoint. So you have to have all these pieces together. And I think it's like the 80-20 rule, you know what I mean? Like the first 20%, you get like 80% of the effort. That last 20 to get to the full picture, that last 20% is 80% of the effort that you're gonna put in. And that's gonna be the next probably I think like 5 years, and we're gonna be there for sure.
So I do know that there are signups currently on your website for the closed beta. Do you have an approximate date when that's going to start?
So we're actually gonna be launching the game in the form of like leaderboard tournaments. I don't think there's enough content right now just for like any sort of like organic, you know, purely, hey, we're playing this for fun sort of retention, but we do want to get the game out there. So that's gonna be probably by the end of this week. We're gonna have a presence on stores. It's a soft launch, it's a quiet launch. We just want to basically like we don't want to put like too much marketing dollars behind it, but at the same time we still want to grow the community. We've actually been, I don't know what the hell is going on, but our Discord is like going crazy. Our Twitter is going crazy right now, and it's all organic, super cool. I don't know who found us or what, but yeah, we went from like I think a little under 2,000 to like now today we're at I believe 2,500 followers today.
That ain't bad.
That was just over the weekend, bro.
That's not bad at all. You should be almost 3K.
3,000. It's 3,000 followers today. So we literally grew by like 1,000 followers over the weekend, like 50% increase. We didn't do anything, bro.
I'm pretty sure I saw a Web3 content creator recently on the timeline.
KG. Yeah, KG. Yeah, we did an interview with KG, but I don't think he brought in 1,000 followers just like that.
I don't underestimate Web3 creators. They tweet something out and people will run with it. They do not care. It's like running with scissors. They don't care if they get their eyes stabbed out or what. Like that. Let's be honest. That's why so many scams are successful here. People see decent gameplay. They're like, oh, I don't care about doing my own research. I just want to play the game. This creator tweeted it out, so it must be safe. And then we all run with it. Now, in this case, it's doing you guys a favor. Don't complain about it. Just run with it. Let it happen.
I'm not complaining, man. I'm definitely not complaining. You know, we've been quiet for like 13 months. And I think part of the reason why it's doing so well is because people can see the quality. At least that's what I like to think. Right? People see the quality, they see the effort, they see the passion that we're putting behind these projects. And you know, we're trying to make like at the end of the day, we're trying to make a fun game. And we're not like, we didn't release any NFTs. We don't even have like a mint planned out. People keep asking us for like waitlists and stuff. We're just like, yeah, look, we don't have any of that ready because all the effort's been on the game. Like the game is the important thing. The mints can wait, you know, and it's not even
I love it. I love hearing this. Gameplay first. Let's go.
Gameplay first. And if you look at through our timeline, we like literally didn't announce anything until we had gameplay. And even with investors, it was the same thing. Like when we did our raise, like we raised the seed round, very, very small, $1.5 million round. It was originally for like dissolution, right? And then halfway through the round, we had a big catastrophe in this space, FTX, where it was Tel Luna, then like Alameda, and then FTX. So, like we just got like hit with this like 1, 2, 3 combo, you know, right on the chin, and like over half of the investors that we had committed, they all pulled out, and we're like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? So we had 1.5 in the bank, and Adam, like the whole team, we're just like, okay, well, we can still make something happen here because this is the dream for us. Like it doesn't have to be FPS game. What else can we make? And we're like, okay, well, what if it was like a top down? We grinded over like a month, literally just 6 hours sleep, like literally no sleep every day to get this demo put together. And then over a month, we got this white box demo, had that ready, sent it off to investors. We were like, hey guys, look, we can give you guys. We don't have the full amount raised, and we don't think it's going to happen. But you guys can either take a refund, a partial refund, or you can hop into this new game. Oh, by the way, we just made this new game in a month. We just it's like sent the demo off to all these guys, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, like did you made this in a month? That's crazy!" And so we're lucky that like we have people with very, very high conviction that believe in us. And we're sitting in a really good spot right now, even as a small team, as a small studio. Keeping the burn rate low, knowing how to be lean, and just being ready to springboard into action once the market hits. Once the bulls are back, hopefully next year, because the bear market is a little bit depressing. But the thing with the bear market is that it's a true test of what works and what doesn't, right? Because you remember like 2021 and early 2022, people were throwing money at a wall and like everything was sticking. But now you have to be really, really careful about your UA strategies, about your games, about what kind of project it even is, because people's bars are so high. And if you can hit that bar in a bear market, like that's your true north, that's your true center, and you stick with that, right? And that's the only time you can actually figure out the truth of what you're doing is in these tough times. And we can survive that, and we were born in this, so this is like our bread and butter, man. So we're super excited. Shutdown's gonna be huge. We have faith in ourselves, and we know that people are going to respond very, very well to what we're building.
I believe you. I mean, like I said, I have gotten to try not the current build, obviously, but I got to try a build, and it's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend you guys check it out if you get a chance, for everybody that watches this video. Now, you mentioned that you're going to be seeing some store presence in the near future. Which ones are you looking at launching on?
So we're gonna have like this Web 2 version on Steam. We can kind of get away with Steam TOS. Hopefully, don't give us too much crap about it. Fingers crossed. If they tell us to get off, we'll get off. But not a big deal. We're talking to Epic, so we're gonna have an Epic Games Marketplace,
of course,
as well, and then hitting up all of the big Web 3. So Hyperplay, Elixir. I think there's another one that I forget the name of, but
Sedona?
Web 3. I think so. Yeah, Sedona. And then there's Sedona, and then there's another one that just came out. I don't know if I can actually even say their name yet. I don't, because I'm under NDA. But yeah, there's gonna be 4 of them.
Don't break NDAs. No, we don't want to encourage that. We love alpha, but we also like legal alpha. So
legal alpha only. No, for sure.
Oh man, we ain't trying to get people in trouble around here. So that's cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to definitely diving back in, because Wave Survival, I love it. The iterative development process that you guys are taking, I'm noticing that's becoming a trend with multiple studios. Like you mentioned Parallel earlier, even Parallel TCG. We're already seeing multiple balance passes going through it. They have plans for more modes, and they're going to be expanding upon that one. They also have their other game that they're going to hopefully have a closed beta for later this month, or not this month, this year. Don't quote me on month. Sorry. Somebody's going to clip that out of context. I'm in trouble. Oh, man. But outside of Shutdown, do you want to speak on anything coming for the other one, if you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Closed betas, any events?
So for the Fabled, I can't reveal too much because we have a couple of big announcements in the mix, but there is this really freaking epic new game mode that we're going to be putting out, where you're going to see some really epic battles in an arena. that's all I can say. We have this epic trailer. Look, I don't want to spoil things too much, but there's going to be a trailer that's going to be releasing in the next couple of weeks, probably. It's going to be it's dropping in October. That's what I can say. And hopefully that will be a nice little addition to the current game. So you have sort of, I don't know what you call it, a dungeon, if you will, with the Souls-like game, but then this is kind of like a mini game addition on top of the items that you get from that Souls-like main game mode.
So what you're telling me is Rod needs to put your socials down below for the Fabled, Shutdown, and Xenum Games.
For sure. That's for sure, man. We have some very, very exciting stuff cooking up in the mix here. I mean, we're a pretty small studio. We don't need to be like, we don't have like the expectation that like, oh, hey, we have to be, one of the biggest. But at the same time, that's good for us because it gives us plenty of room to experiment, try different things, see what works and what doesn't. And if something does work, then we can smash expectations, blow people out of the water, and they'll be like, where did these guys come from? That's the reaction I want. It's like,
Small
how have I not
teams,
heard of this?
small teams can do big things. Look at Among Us. Look at Stardew Valley. Wow, they're all escaping me, but there's plenty of other games that have blown up. Undertale, Minecraft, like all of these games that have been done by either super small teams or even 1 to 2 developers total, and they blow up. All it takes is being at the right place, the right time, with the right eyes, and having the right gameplay.
Yep.
Make a good game. That's what it boils down to.
About.
But you guys definitely looking game first. No mints. So you said you don't even have plans for any mints yet?
I mean, we have like, we're playing with the idea of potentially. So what I want to do something that like rewards the early community, right? So
Play to
I'm
mint.
thinking like maybe. Sorry, what's up?
Play to mint.
Play to mint. Yeah, we could do something like that. I was actually thinking like, hey, what if it was like you have to play the tournament, participate in it, get to a decent score, get to like a minimum score, and then that's what gives you the ability to get. So we were thinking like doing like this PFP collection. Now I hate the term PFP collection, but the way we want to do it is the traits of these characters will have like gameplay impact. So if someone has like, they're gonna be like these like super soldier sort of PFPs, right? And someone has like a scar on their eye. That's like they're a grizzled veteran, maybe that's like negative 5% damage, 5% damage reduction, or they have like some crazy bionic, and then it's like 5% accuracy or something like that, where like the traits actually make sense with the game and you can actually like use them in that. And that seems really appealing. But when we think about NFTs, it always comes back to how does this improve the game? How does this make the game funner? How does this make it more engaging for someone who owns one of these things, right? And I think that's kind of the way you have to think about, future utility and value beyond sort of just the cosmetic of owning it and just the artwork. It really does have to come back full circle into the game design, the game loop.
What if, and I'm taking a page from Skylander's book. Anybody that's familiar with that from Activision. Yeah. What if you get access to certain maps or areas based on your PFP? Like you mentioned the grizzled veteran. Maybe they get to go to a bar, kind of add a social element where all the grizzled veterans get together and can, shoot the shit. Or maybe if you get a marksman, then you get access to a gun range where you can practice shooting.
Yeah, that's a good idea. What I'm saying? I like that. I like that. No, that's a fucking cool idea. I'm gonna have to steal that.
That's what I'm here for. I like to tell people I'm an idea person. I don't have a lot of time to implement anything. I don't have the resources to hire developers, but I can come up with ideas all day. I'm here to help you guys.
No, for sure. That's amazing. Yeah, I love that. No, we're gonna have to steal some of those and put them in the back of the noggin there. That is a fucking good idea. We're probably gonna do something along those lines now.
Oh man, I think that would actually be really cool. I think that would even encourage a bit more of the community to engage together, because everybody already likes to like follow and engage with similar profile pictures to begin with. But now outside of, oh, you have a Shutdown PFP, it's like, oh dude, you want to go hit up the bar after work, something like that. We just go chill and socialize, hang out. Maybe we chill in the Shutdown Discord and in our own channel. Maybe traits unlock certain channels for social metaverse type stuff. See, and ideas keep coming,
dude. This is off topic, but there's like this funny story when we first announced Shutdown. So like when Shutdown was first a thing, they thought that like they thought it was a project that got rugged because it's called Shutdown. It was so funny because we like,
oh man,
they're just like, wait, is this like, we got like a bunch of comments in our first couple of posts. It's like, is this a rug? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, why would we literally released like gameplay footage with like a trailer and everything. They're like, people are like, is this a rug? What the hell? They're like, it's called Shutdown. It's like very unfortunate naming, but yeah, it's
Whenever I saw the booth at ETH Denver, I was a little like, I was kind of like, what is this a game? Like, what is this? You know? But then once I actually started talking to the team and I played the Fable, they were like, oh, check out our other game. I was like, oh, this is a game. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So the name. But here's the thing, though. It also is unique and it's great because how many other games have Shutdown in their name? Not many, if any. So it's great for SEO, kind of. Well, you're competing against the IT world.
Well, it's a play on words because it's like the theme of it is like humanity versus AI. So we call it like Shutdown. And I think like from both a naming standpoint, a branding standpoint, like a visual standpoint, I think it's a lot different than like any of the other top-down shooters we've seen in the space. Like we wanted to do something dramatically different, right? Like it was like you look at the top-down shooters in the space, they're like hyper casuals. They're very cartoonish. They're kind of silly, kids graphics. And we wanted to do something like impactful. We wanted the guns to feel like that oomph to it. You know what I mean? We wanted to have something that's like dark and more on the horror side. I wouldn't say it's scary, but it's like definitely,
dark.
Yeah, it's dark and actually like these designs decisions also play into the development speed because now we don't have to make sure the textures are like pixel perfect, right? That we can have like a crappy little texture, and if there's barely any light on it or if the light's flickering, like you're not gonna be able to see everything that's wrong with it too. So it's just like work smart, not hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, and I think this actually is going to lend you guys a bit of benefit to SEO because even though obviously just Googling Shutdown isn't going to do you any favors, if you do Google Shutdown game, first thing that came up, Twitter's, then your website, and then looks like a Gamiverse review. I'm probably butchering their name. So I'm saying I think it's working for you guys. I think it works fine. Now,
actually, the Gamiverse review, that's not even us.
I was about to say that's not even you guys. Yeah, I realized that. But your Twitter and your website being at the top obviously is huge, so that's good. I was gonna say something, then I lost it.
Yeah, and then the people ask that part. Why do people shut down game servers?
No, so that was what I was going to kind of go towards is the name will actually cause curiosity too. And then they're going to go look into it. And that's going to even further the SEO, lead them to your website and your Twitter and socials and stuff like that. In fact, that might even be why your Twitter started popping all of a sudden. Some creator put out this footage and everybody starts Googling, well, what's this game? Like, it's called Shutdown. What is it? What's going on with this? And then they start Googling it. They find your Twitter. They find your website. And they're like, oh, this looks kind of dope. They follow the Twitter. And now they probably signed up for the beta on the website, which, by the way, for those that want to sign up for the closed beta, it's playshutdown.com.
Playshutdown.com. Follow us on Twitter. Play Shutdown.
So before we wrap it up, is there anything else that you want to drop? Any upcoming events? Obviously, you said you're going to be on some stores here soon-ish, and I'm assuming that's going to be free to play, open for everybody that jumps in.
Yep. It's going to be free to play. We're going to have a big announcement coming tomorrow, but just follow us on Twitter, join our Discord. There's if you just participate in our Discord, we're running like mini games basically almost every other day. You're gonna be able to win roles. You're gonna be able to get unique alpha. I don't know what you would call it actually, but there's cool stuff happening on our Twitter and our Discord all the time. So just join those, stay up to date. If you guys want to talk to me, just hit me up, DM me, at me on the Discord. I'm always there. If I'm not super busy, I'm gonna respond. I love talking to everyone that plays the game and getting your guys' feedback. I mean, we're very open. You can pretty much actually DM like anyone on the team through our Discord.
You guys don't have the DMs limited? What kind of team are you?
Oh no, we don't have the DMs limited, man. I think there's a certain magic when and I try to like know all my community members on like a first name basis, and I make sure that like I'm always there, and if I'm not busy with my work, like I'm always chatting. So hit me up.
It's just funny because most teams are like, "Oh no, DM's bad. Close DMs. I never want to. I never want to see a DM."
Nah, man. No, that's the thing. Is like we want to hear from you guys. Like that's
Exactly.
That's what makes it fun, So unless you're gonna spam me, don't spam me, please.
He's like, on second thought.
No,
So-
it's great. I love my community.
I'm assuming you guys also have a feedback. If people have game-oriented feedback, there's a feedback channel in the Discord too.
Yeah. So
Okay.
in Discord, if you participate in events, you can buy basically. We have this dissolution year role, kind of a harken back to the first game we made, and that role gives you access to the latest builds. It gives you access to private social channels. Gives you probably we're gonna basically use that role as kind of like the preliminary criteria for like any upcoming waitlist for mints we have, and then whatever else you guys do on top of that, like that's all being tracked. So you play in the game, if you're active on our Discord, if you boost the server, all of those things. If you contribute to our community, we want to reward you with cool shit. And yeah, that's how it goes.
Awesome. Love to hear it. All right, final call. Anything we missed? Anything you want to just throw in there?
There's a lot, man. I can't talk about it right now.
I know there's a lot coming, so I'm just gonna tell Rod, put the links down below. Make sure you guys go follow them on socials, jump in the Discord, stay up to date, hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss a post. Just saying. But that's going to be it for us today, folks. This was another great episode. Thank you again, Houston, for taking the time to join us today. I appreciate you sharing the game with us and, giving us a little bit of alpha that it's going to be publicly available soon. So look forward to that. I'm going to be playing myself. And of course, we couldn't have done it without all our amazing viewers and supporters. You guys are the reason that we do this. If you, again, follow us on social media, follow us on YouTube, drop comments, let us know if there's a game you want to see up here or if there's a certain topic you want us to bring up during our weekly discussions, because we're here for you guys. This content is to try and make sure that these games get seen, but also so you guys can bring up some questions and stuff. Maybe we circle back around and ask Houston some of the viewer stuff, Just saying. Remember, the sauce never stops flowing. Stay connected with us on social media. Again, it's at the Block Sauce with a 3 at the end, not an E. I don't know how many times I have to tell you guys, but everybody's following ReNFT. You're not following the Block Sauce. Gosh.
Follow the Block Sauce.
Follow the Block Sauce. Making my job hard here. Oh, man. So that's going to be it for today's Sauce Enthusiasts. Join us next time for another amazing episode of the Block Sauce, where we'll keep the gaming flame alive and the discussion sizzling. Stay saucy and keep gaming in the exciting realm of Web3. Have a good one.